Hey gang, I'll get the microphone set here. I had another video I wanted to put together today. As you can see, it's St. Patrick's Day, the day once a year that I bust out the Green Lantern shirt, the only green shirt I wear, or I own, and I wear it on St. Patrick's Day. So happy St. Patrick's Day. Today what I want to talk about, very briefly, is the Shattering universe and the proper reading order, because there's multiple ways you can do it, for the Shattering books. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the various books, and first we'll go through the chronological order that I wrote them, because some people prefer that, and then I'm going to go through sort of the chronological order of the story. Okay, and it's not unprecedented for a series or a storyline to be done this way. I mean, you know, think about Star Wars. We got the original trilogy, then we went back and got 3 before that. Now we're getting, I guess, 3 after all that. So they're jumping all around. And that's kind of what I've been doing too. So let's just get right on into it. And hopefully, if you've already started the series or if you're thinking about starting it, this will give you a little insight. I'm not going to give any spoilers about the story itself, don't worry. But this will give you some insight maybe as to which way you want to go about, you know, attacking it and digging into it. And I really think that you'll like it. I'm very proud of it. The 2 series I do are the Sentinels and the Shattering. I'll probably do another one of these shows coming up probably next week or 2 about the Sentinels, because Volume 9 of their book is coming out sometime this summer, hopefully. I'm nearly done writing it now, and so when I do that show, I'll give you a little behind the scenes on how I put those superhero novels together. I'm very proud of the Sentinels. Obviously, they're my baby. That's what I started with back in 2005, based on stuff that Bobby Polite and I started putting together back in 1996. So for a long time, I've been living with the Sentinels, and it's been just absolutely wonderful to get to tell their story. But the Shattering, this is my, Star Wars type space fantasy, military space opera story and this is a story I've been working on in one form or another since I was in about 10th grade. I started putting these ideas together, but of course it wasn't until I was in really my 30s that I felt like I was even beginning to get skilled enough at writing and creating this kind of stuff to do it professionally. And now in this last decade I've been putting them out, and I'm very, very, very proud of them. And they've won awards, so which just is sort of gratifying and confirming. So, all right, let's look at the order that they came out in, okay? First up was Lucian Dark God's Homecoming. This is the edition that was put out by Airship 27. This edition, I was so grateful to Airship. They believed in this book. They thought it fit their line, and they put it out. And I'm delighted that it came out. I like the cover art a lot. It certainly fits the book. But it's not exactly what I had in mind, and so when I had a chance later under White Rocket's imprint to redo it, you'll see what I did. Okay, so that's Lucian. I wrote Lucian first, okay? And it's about, by the way, it's sort of I like to call it a sort of Loki type story. Let me show you the newer version, the newer edition. Same book. But here's the White Rocket edition with that Mark Williams art that I'm so proud of. This wasn't eligible for a Pulp Factory award for best cover because it was a reprint, or like a new edition of an existing book. And to be eligible for the Pulp Factory awards, the books have to come out for the first time that year of the awards. And so, because I thought this one really deserved at least to be nominated, but it wasn't eligible. But anyway, so that's the Dark God's Homecoming cover, and by Mark Williams. And again, this is more about the gods. I write the gods in a science fiction universe, sort of the way that Jack Kirby wrote, like the Eternals and the Celestials and the New Gods and all that, in a kind of a cosmic almost superhero-y way. It's what I'm going to do, of course, being who I am. There's also a lot of Roger Zelazny. I mean, people have compared this book to both Amber, Roger Zelazny's Amber, and to Vance. Oh, it's back behind me here. Oh, shoot, where did it go? Dying Earth. Jack Vance's Dying Earth. There's a little bit of that, too. But my idea here was take a science fiction, Star Wars type futuristic universe and put immortal, godlike beings with superpowers, sprinkle a few of them in. You know, the image of a fleet of starships being attacked by one of Galactus's heralds. That's an image that gets me very excited, and that's the kind of thing I've tried to include in books like this. Hopefully that gives you a better idea of what they're about. Oh, by the way, though, but that's not remotely the story. The story of this book is a murder mystery. Lucian is basically the god of mischief and evil. He's the Loki character. He's been exiled to the human worlds, because, again, it's the far future. It's not now. He's been exiled to the human worlds. And while he was gone, a whole bunch of his fellow gods and goddesses were murdered by parties unknown. And so when he escapes his exile and returns to the city of the gods, the Golden City, naturally everybody thinks he did it because he's Lucian, right? He's the god of evil and mischief. So it becomes sort of he's on the run with some human allies trying to find the real killer and prove his own innocence just this once. All right. So that's Lucian. And that came out, I think, first time in like 2009, I believe. So that's the first one chronologically. That series is called The Above. These are all set in one big universe, and they all interact with each other, but they have smaller series, okay? So this is Volume 1 of The Above. And it can also kind of be seen as Volume 1 of the overall Shattering universe in general. Okay. Then, a couple of years later, I wrote Hawk. It's very difficult to do this when it's not a mirror. I go one way, it goes the other. Okay, so this is Hawk. And this is the special hardcover that doesn't have anything on the front. There's a paperback edition that says, you know, it's kind of got the same trade dress as Lucian. But I just grabbed the hardcover here, which I love that Raoul Roque cover art there. But Hawk I did next. It's the first volume of what I call the Shattered Galaxy series, which will have Hawk, and then I'm working on Falcon now, and then Raven will be the third. And Hawk is post-apocalyptic. The galaxy has been shattered, and you have these sort of lone ranger types, Space Ranger guys. Each has his own ship. You can see his triangular ship back there behind him, behind his legs there, floating behind him. And they are very powerful, very skillful warriors who serve what's called the Machine. So the subtitle of this book is Hawk, Hand of the Machine. He's a hand of the machine, kind of like the hands of the king in Game of Thrones. He's an agent of the machine being this vast ancient machine intelligence, this artificial intelligence that is trying to enforce law and order in a shattered galaxy. And there's a very important through plot that percolates along through Hawk as well, but it ties in with Lucian. Okay, so there you have the first volumes of two series that are interrelated, but they are also linear to their next books. Okay, now the next thing I did was I went completely Warhammer 40,000 Horus Heresy, and I said, I want to take a look at the empires and the big, vast space armies of this era, of this period. And so here's the original editions that I did of the Legion trilogy. They are sometimes just called the Shattering. I've been lately referring to them more as the Legion trilogy to kind of keep them separate from the overall Shattering universe. This is Volume 1, the original cover, Lords of Fire. Not thrilled with the cover designs here, but we'll see. I have better ones coming. Here, it's the same book. I mean, you'll get the exact same material either way if you find the old covers or the new ones. Here's Legion 2, Sons of Terra. And here's Legion 3 Kings of Oblivion. I mean, there's a lot I like about these covers. They look really neat. I would just redo the Shattering logo a little bit. But other than that, they're pretty cool, I think. Okay, let me show you. I got Mark Williams to do new covers for them. So again, it's the same books, just different art, smaller size too. So here's, oops, wrong order, hold on, they were shuffled. Okay, here we go. Legion 1 Lords of Fire with that Mark Williams fantastic art. I love that cover. It's one of my favorites. Legion 2 Sons of Terra. And the one that won the Pulp Factory Award for Novel of the Year for 2014, Legion 3 Kings of Oblivion. And oh, on the back you've got the mechs like from Pacific Rim, which I thought were cool. So the deal with the Legion trilogy is that we are, I'm trying to think of the timeline. We are, hold on, there's one way to find out. I have it on here. On the back cover of this one, which I haven't gotten to yet, you can see the timeline. I've been including that in later editions of these books. So Lucian takes place during the Terran Alliance period, right over my finger there. The Legion trilogy takes place a little bit later in what's called the Young Empires period. I didn't show you this one. So that trilogy is then collected in this with a M.D. Jackson cover. I love it. I love this cover. There's Iapetus, General Iapetus and the Sons of Terra coming through a portal into the throne room on the Egyptian, on Akhenaton. Yeah, Akhenaton. So there it is. Really love it. This book collects all three of these. Okay. So you can either buy these three separately, or you can just get this. It's also in paperback. This is the hardcover, but there's also a paperback. Okay. So, and it's big, but it's got everything, all three in it. So where was I? The Legion trilogy is set after Lucian, but well before Hawk. Because this is not a spoiler, this is the basic premise of the books, and I'm just going to show you how it fits together. In Lucian, the galaxy is perfectly fine. In Hawk, there's been some giant disaster that has shattered the galaxy, and now this machine is kind of serving as the law enforcement for the whole shattered galaxy. So that begs the question, what happened? How did the galaxy get shattered? Where did the machine come from, right? Who are these agents, these hands of the machine? What are they? Where did they come from? A lot, not all, but a lot, 80 to 90% of the answers to that are in the Shattering trilogy. It tells you how the galaxy got shattered. It introduces a couple more gods, more villains. It's got a main villain that runs through it that has connections to the villains in Lucian. This is like the glue that ties it all together. The comparison I always make is, it's like if you read James Clavell's Asian Saga, there's not a lot of connection among the books. Each one is sort of a standalone story. But if you read Noble House, it's the glue. Noble House is where, you'll meet the British soldier from the prison camp in King Rat. You'll meet a descendant of Blackthorn from Shogun. You meet descendants, obviously the main character is a descendant of Dirk Struan from Taipan, and on and on. So that's the book that glues them together. So the Legion trilogy kind of serves as the glue that holds this series to a certain degree together. Okay. Now, the last couple. I went back in 2015 2015, one of the only things I did in 2015. Actually, no, I'm out of order again. Here we go. While we're talking about the Legion trilogy, there were certain stories I wanted to tell as part of that trilogy that just wouldn't work because they were side stories and they would take away from the main plot line. And one of those side stories involved a commando team led by a minor character in that trilogy named Major Ixander. And so what I did was, I had the flu for like a week and was really sick. I couldn't do anything except lie on the couch. So I lay there on the couch with my iPad, and actually on my iPad, on the glass type, I wrote Cold Lightning. Now, you may have heard of Cold Lightning in another context. I'll get to that in just a second. The Legion Chronicles 1. Okay? So, on the back of Cold Lightning is this handy-dandy timeline. This is a special hardcover. Oh, yeah, there's also, this is very useful. I've been trying to include this, too. See? It breaks the universe down into the above, our universe, and the below. And the above is where you find gods like Lucian and Baranak and Caroline. And the below is where you find the demonic, horrible beings. Some of them turn up in Hawk, and they turn up in the Legion trilogy, and so on. I took the subplot about Ixander and his commando team, and I just wrote it as a 30-something thousand word novella, which we put out originally in a very limited edition hardcover. And I only sold these at conventions, and this is my last copy. And in fact, the only reason that I have this copy left, and I didn't sell it too, is that, because I sold the heck out of these at DragonCon last year, the last few, the reason I have one left is I had to save it because I'm doing a comic book trilogy, and most of you know this. I'm doing a comic book trilogy based on Cold Lightning as a graphic novel. A 3-part book. It's in production now. Issue number 1 of 3 is in production now. We're hoping we'll have it this summer, at least by DragonCon. You already know about that, hopefully. We've got Wendell Cavalcanti doing the pencils, Jared Albrecht doing the inks, Ace Wheatley doing the colors, Percival Constantine doing the letters and the design. We're really excited about it, and it should be out. I'm hoping to get it picked up by Dark Horse or another publisher. If not, White Rocket will put it out, and we'll have it out later this year. And I'll be continuing to post art updates and sneak previews on the Patreon site and through the email newsletter that the GoFundMe benefactors also receive. Okay. And by the way, I got one more to go. But if you want to see the preview stuff, if you want access to videos like this, I'm not sure at this moment what level I'm going to make this video. I may make it a free preview, since really this is more of a public service to people that want to read my books to help them figure it out than it is a bonus content that I got to get that. So this one will probably be free on the Patreon page to try to attract more people to come and support. Even for $1 a month, you're helping tremendously because we're trying to produce material like this, produce the comic book series. If all goes well, my next installment in the Legion Chronicles will be book 2, Red Colossus, and I would love to do a graphic novel out of Red Colossus. Also, if you like the Sentinels, by the way, we're working on a comic book one-shot for that. More about that coming up. So any little bit you can do to help to become a patron and a supporter of White Rocket and of stuff like this, and these videos and the podcast and everything else is so appreciated, absolutely appreciated. And it also lets us do things like go to LibertyCon, go to DragonCon, go to Archon, hopefully go to Superman Celebration, whatever Birmingham ends up doing in the future. I basically get into those things for free. Sometimes I get a table for free. Sometimes I have to pay for the table. Chicago, it just depends. But there are usually expenses like travel, hotel. Sometimes that's covered for me. Sometimes it's not. every show, every convention is different. Some charge, some pay me. Some provide a room. Some provide travel. Some don't provide much of anything, and I just do them because I want to go to that city and meet readers and people in that city. So every little bit you can do helps us to be able to do more of that. Okay, the last one. Where'd it go? Oh, here it is. 2015. The only book that I got out in 2015 is Baranak. Baranak is, I'm trying to get the glare off of it, Storming the Gates. Baranak was in some ways seemingly the villain seemingly in Lucian. This is the basically prequel to Lucian. It's second. Again, I'm sorry it gets a little convoluted, but this is the second in the Above series that starts with Lucian and then goes to Baranak. But this is the origin book for this whole universe. At the beginning of this book, nothing that exists in these other books has happened yet. By the end, you'll know much, much more about the gods, where they came from, and all that. Now, I've had some readers say, but I read Lucian first, of course, and I didn't like Baranak. Why would I want to read a whole book about him? Well, this is Baranak before he becomes the character in Lucian, and I think he's a very likable character. And if there's ever a book I've written, I mean, as much as Lucian gets compared to Zelazny, this is really, I read the Courts of Chaos, the fifth Amber book. I read the Courts of Chaos, and I mainlined it. I channeled it when I wrote Baranak, and I think there's a lot of that in here. I don't feel like I'm ripping Zelazny off. I feel like my entire existence is ripping Zelazny off. I'm trying to be, in some ways able to recreate in others what he's always done for me as a writer, reading his books. And so this one really does channel a lot of the Courts of Chaos to a certain degree. And I'm very proud of this book. The cover did get nominated for a Pulp Factory Award for Mark. It did not win last year. I really, really was sad. What can I say? I was really sad that this book did not get nominated, did not make the finalist list for the Pulp Factory Awards for Best Novel. I honestly think this is one of the best things I've ever written, but it didn't make the cut. Oh well, darn. But I'm very proud of it. So now, that's the order I wrote them in. Let's quickly go through the order chronologically, story-wise, and then you can decide which way you'd rather approach it, because I think it works fine either way. If you want to go all the way back to the beginning, start with the most recent one, Baranak, because this is going to tell you the origin. Now, I wrote this one later because it leaves all that hanging as a mystery until you read this one and get some of your mysteries answered. But if you want to go ahead and get the origin up front, then read that one first. Okay, that's chronologically the first. Next up would be Lucian. Okay, so Lucian comes in story terms next, in the timeline of the story next. So you got the two above books in reverse order, for second and first. Okay, then you would go to the Shattering, or the Legion trilogy. Okay, so the Legion trilogy, they come next. You might want to pause if you're really wanting to go chronologically. After you read the first Legion book, there's where you plug in Cold Lightning, because Cold Lightning happens between chapters, between pages in here. You don't miss anything. If you don't ever read Cold Lightning, fine. You won't miss anything out of Lords of Fire. But if you want more of the story, this is what another group of characters are doing while the main action's happening here. Okay, you don't have to read it to get the story, but it's a nice little bonus, I think. Okay, so that's where that goes. And then lastly of the seven is Hawk, because Hawk happens way in the future. Okay, and it's brings a lot of things together. But then so does Legion 3. I mean, Legion 3 is where you get all that stuff I was telling you is like Noble House, where the glue, where it comes together. So, okay. So do with those as you will. I think any order works. Note that the next book in this universe I plan to write is the sequel to Hawk called Falcon. If you read Hawk, one of the things you'll notice is that different chapters, you can see there 3 Hawk, different chapters are from the point of view of Hawk, Falcon, just randomly turning, there's Raven, see? You get different point of view chapters all the way through. But I'm pretty sure right now that Falcon will be entirely from Falcon's point of view. Okay. He's on a mission. And if you want to know where it fits in, Falcon fits in before Hawk. So again, kind of a prequel, setting up stuff that happens with the machine. Okay. So yeah, ultimately what we're building toward is what happens with the machine. Do we want a giant artificial alien intelligence basically controlling the galaxy? What about the hands of the machine? Are they good? Are they bad? Right? I mean, in a way, they're heroes. In another way, they're kind of like the stormtroopers of the machine. Okay? And of course, I'm also building toward what happens with the gods, and I think that probably the next book in the above, after Lucian and Baranak, will be Caroline, where we'll see some of her point of view. Okay. By the way, these are all coming to audio. Lucian is being produced as an audiobook right now. Baranak will be next. Hawk at some point as well. The Legion trilogy is currently optioned to a British publishing company, and they want to do audio for it. So I don't control the timeline on that. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. All right, so that's the Legion trilogy, and Hawk, and Lucian, and Baranak, and Cold Lightning. If you have any questions, if I've just made things even more confusing, I apologize. But I really do, I mean, seriously, I honestly believe, I mean, I'm not just saying this because it's mine. I honestly believe that this is good stuff. You know, again, this one won a trophy. I've got the trophy on my mantle. So give it a shot. Start, you know, if you ask me what would be my preferred reading order, I would start with Lucian and then go in the order I wrote them. Go Lucian, Hawk, the Legion, Baranak. Throw Cold Lightning in there before Baranak. All right. Well, that'll do it. We'll make this wrap this sucker up at 28 minutes and change. So I hope that's been of use to you. And we'll get on out of here. And like I said, I'll be back in a few days to do the same thing a little differently with the Sentinels book. So go to my Patreon page, patreon.com. I think you just have to search Van Allen Plexico or Van Plexico. Bring you right to me. Okay? And follow me on Twitter at Van Allen Plexico and on Facebook, Van Allen Plexico. And I'll be posting more stuff here in the days to come. Lots and lots more. Take it easy.